Welcome, everybody, to the League Freak Rugby League podcast. I'm your host, League Freak. Bit of a sad day today because I just want to let everyone know that myself and Andrew have decided to not do the podcast together anymore. It was a long time coming, and it's understandable. So, yeah, I thought that I should lead with that. Anyway, I've got a special guest here right now, and it's great to talk to them. It's Andrew Ferguson. How are you, Andrew Ferguson?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Freaky. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, it's pretty good to finally get a chance to talk to you. You know what? I don't know if you're up for this. Do you want to do a podcast with me?
As in a regular thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck it, why not?
Yeah, I was thinking for a name, we call it Freak and the Fergo.
It's got a ring to it.
Yeah, I think that kind of rolls off the tongue, hey?
It does a little bit.
Yeah, and I've got all the marketing set up for it as well.
You know, it'd also be good.
Mm.
Well, actually, it would be helpful. Is you'd probably have to go out and buy the URL for
it. Yeah. That's another thing to consider. Oh, God damn it. I bet somebody fucking buys that now. Fuck! Now I've got to buy another URL. Anyway, for people listening, don't worry. Andrew's not going anywhere. The interns made sure he's locked down under a pretty airtight contract.
That thing was, I'm pretty sure the terms on it was 99 years or until I die.
Yeah, whichever comes first.
That's right.
And if you don't turn up, you don't get paid.
Yeah, that's right. So that's why I'm back. It's been 5.5 weeks now. Yeah, family's starting to get hungry.
So, how have you been? And how's the little one?
Oh, he's going great.
That's awesome.
Like a lot of parents out there will know that one of the hardest things is trying to get a baby onto a routine at night, so you can have some sort of semblance of a normal sleeping pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And most babies sleep for 2 hours, maybe 3 hours at a block every time at night.
Yeah.
This little fella's just been punching out 3 hour sleeps nearly every single time at night, and the last 3 nights he's doing 4 hours.
Well, he's doing better than I am. Jeez.
Yeah, he's almost getting up to the 5 hours I normally do.
It's funny because I've seen when you've got your chances to do stuff, and so like all of a sudden about 50 million tweets will come through from you, and then you disappear for a day. It's so funny to see.
You have a look at my Twitter line there. It's like, there's tweets on there up until midnight, and then they just disappear, and then there's all of a sudden 2:30, 3 o'clock, and then there might be some at 4 a.m., and then it's 7 or 8.
It's bloody hilarious. Yeah, it's so good to have you back because, there's so many times where I know you were hanging to do a podcast, and there's so many times where I'm like, man, damn, I know Andrew would go off about this, or I just need to vent to someone because it's hard to vent when you're just doing a single podcast because you just sound ranty. You just sound ranty and a bit crazy, I reckon.
Yeah, which, I mean, it's better to sound ranty and crazy with someone else sounding ranty and crazy.
Yeah, exactly. You got to share the nutcase sort of element between two people.
Exactly.
That way they can't lock just one of yous up. They've got to make a decision then.
That's exactly right. And, given how far apart we both are.
Yeah.
Pretty hard to nail us down.
Exactly.
Speaking of, actually, almost just after the last time we had a podcast episode.
Yeah.
I went into lockdown.
Yes.
And interestingly enough, I come back and you're about to go into lockdown.
Yeah, I think are we official? I think we might officially be in lockdown, or it's at midnight, or so. I don't know. It's lucky I'm in lockdown because I tell you what, I'm within 70 kilometres of the nearest sick person. Fucking lucky,
mate. Dodged a bullet.
Yeah, really did. It was a close
when
one.
When we had the one here, we had sites where someone with COVID had been that were about 3 kilometres away from our house.
See, that's scary.
I was like, it's a good thing that we'd been at home the whole time and we bought everything in bulk, so we didn't need to go out anywhere for the first 2 weeks.
I would have to drive for 40 minutes to go anywhere close to anybody that's got this shit. It's like, I'm just, anyway. So
let's talk some footy.
Yeah, let's talk about some rugby league. Just for
I've barely seen any.
Yep.
All I can recall that's happened so far is West Tigers fans lost their shit because we beat Penrith's under 15s team.
Yeah.
And then West Tigers fans disappeared when Melbourne put 60 points on them in 37 seconds.
Did you get to see any of that game?
No. The interesting thing about the game against Penrith, I didn't see any of it.
Yep.
And the game against Melbourne, I saw the first 8 minutes. And I was sitting there in front of the TV the whole time to watch it.
Yeah.
And I sit in front of the TV, I've got my phone on me looking at Twitter and stuff like that and just watching the game and whatnot. And then I go and check out the stats on NRL and I'll do those sort of things while I'm watching the game. And after it must have been about 7 or 8 minutes, I'm just getting far too many requests for stats on Twitter. And I go, you know what, I'm just going to have to go into the study and put the computer on, get on the Twitter machine there, get all my stats up, and just have the game on in the background. Yeah. And as the stats questions kept coming in, the game was sitting behind all the spreadsheets and stuff I've got, so I didn't get to see any of it for about 65 minutes, which was fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
So I didn't have to sit through that horseshit.
Well, it was, one of the things that was interesting is, and you know what, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, that all-time record for the biggest win in Australia's first grade history.
Yep.
And it kind of doesn't, it's hard, it doesn't make sense. Like, you know what the score is, you've seen it done at other levels, but for it to happen in the NRL, ARL, New South Wales Rugby League, it kind of doesn't make sense that you could see it happen. And so when they were on track to do it, and like they must have been on track to do it for at least 60 minutes, it was like, are they going to do this? Like, they're going to get that record that was never going to get touched.
Yeah, and they were five converted tries away from beating the record in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
That was well within reach.
It really was. And, that's why that record's so untouchable, because you've got to be on the way they were for the entire 80 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's hard. That's impossible nearly. But for it to be that close for that long, and for them to be on track for that long, it was like, oh, wow, this is... And I felt sorry for Maguire. I really felt sorry for him. If I was him, I would have quit.
Oh, I don't want to turn this into a Tigers rant. Obviously, I can't because I didn't watch it. But I see a lot of people out there saying, Maguire's got to go. He signed most of the squad, blah, 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 blah. And go, there's some levels that you can blame the coach for this stuff.
Yeah.
But in the end, he can only get them up to a certain point. The players have got to be willing to put in on the field.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're seeing on the field, and I've been saying this for months, is there's no communication, especially in defence with the Tigers team.
Yeah.
And when you're on your own line, you need your 5'8" and your halfback on either side of the ruck. They both need to be communicating with the man either side of them, and you need your hooker in the middle communicating with them. And so you've got all three working together, moving the line where it needs to go. And the Tigers don't have anyone talking in those three.
No.
And so it's just every man for himself. It's just 13 blokes standing in a line. That's all it is. And you can beat teams that are poorly run. They've got poor attack. You can beat them with that just by fluke.
Yeah.
Or the law of averages even. But when you come up against a semi-decent team or a team that's in a bit of form, you will get beaten pretty much 9 times out of 10.
Yeah. And it's, they went from going pretty well to that performance, and there's literally nothing a coach can do about that. And at halftime, he went in and he said to his players, it's up to you lot, and took all of his coaching staff out. And it's weird to say it, they did play better in the second half and they still got flogged. But I don't know, if I was Maguire, I'd think to myself, I don't want to be that coach, because he's better than that coach. He's better than the Nathan Brown level of coach, where he can think to himself, oh yeah, I need to take these floggings to have my career. He could quit tomorrow and end up somewhere pretty good next year. And yeah, I felt really sorry for him.
What he should have done at halftime, very casually, just walked in and said, right, I want everyone to stand in a line.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so they're all sitting in line, and he goes up to the first guy, he goes nose to him, and he says, fuck you. And then he says, sit down. And he goes up the next one. He says, fuck you, sit down. And then he does that to every single one of them. And then at the end, when they're all sitting down, he stands in the middle and he just holds up his middle finger to every single one of them in their face, and then turns around and walks out.
Yeah.
That's all he should have done.
Yeah.
They didn't deserve anything more than that. And yeah, James Tarmo said afterwards that there was a bit of blaming and whatnot going on amongst the group, and one's not taking responsibility for this, and they're blaming each other and sort of garbage. I mean, come on, you're a bunch of fucking adults.
Yeah, that was a strange one.
They've got to learn to talk, communicate, work with the man either side of you. That's still not going on. This is 2 years this shit's been going on. Maguire's not there to teach them how to talk to one another.
Yeah.
That stuff should be the fucking easiest thing you know how to do, is know how to tell Blake, move up with me, come this way, go that way, watch your man, blah, 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 blah. It's not that hard to do. Every other fucking team does it. And the West Tigers are the team that is just consistently shit at communication.
And at some point, you're a professional rugby league player as a standalone entity. At what point does that professionalism shine through? At what point are you more than just, this is stuff that, under 12s players get taught, not professional footy players. And it was funny because straight after that, what did the Tigers do? They tried to, get in the race to sign other clubs' rejects. And it was just such a West Tigers thing to do. It was just terrible.
They signed Ken Malmelo after they beat Penrith, I think it was.
Yeah.
I just said, okay, why? And I had a bunch of Tigers fans telling me, we've only got one winger, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, there's fucking wingers everywhere. They're not that hard to find. Yeah. Our problem is not wingers. Our problem is defence in the middle and on the edges. And sure enough, 2 games in a row we got dicked by Parramatta, and then that game against the Storm. Mm-hmm. And so I've been a sassy smart ass on Twitter saying, Tigers leaked a shit ton of points, but it's a good thing we've got a winger. Well, maybe we should get some more wingers.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's by the way, what a fucking cesspool of shit is Twitter at the moment. My God.
Yeah, it's a good thing I haven't been on there too much.
Yeah. Anyway, the Women's State of Origin game was played last night, and what was really cool about it is that it was a game of footy, which was really refreshing because there was no 6 again bullshit that wasn't involved in it. And we weren't stopping and having the video referee double check every single thing that has happened on the field in the last 10 minutes. And it was just a free-flowing game of football, a really good, close game as well. Pretty good handling considering the conditions as well. It was all tied up until late in the game. It was 6-6, and then Queensland got a penalty right at the death, kicked the conversion, and that was the ball game. But the thing that really stood out to everyone that was watching it last night was that this is rugby league. This is what we want to see. And it really highlighted why all of these rule changes have been so catastrophic in making the game basically very, very hard to watch.
Yeah, it's been detrimental to the game. I've watched the last 3 Women's State of Origin games, and I've found every single one of them to be an absolutely brilliant contest.
Mm.
And the thing that stands out, it's not just these rule changes either. It's the women play the game in the spirit of the game, the way it's meant to be played. They're not out there trying to cheat. They're not out there trying to bend rules.
Mm-hmm.
They're out there playing it because they, first and foremost, they love it.
Mm-hmm.
And they have full respect for the game, the rules, their opposition. And so the way they play it is just beautiful to watch. They play it properly. When you watch the men and they're all trying to fucking niggle here, niggle there, bend this rule, break that rule, fucking do this, do that, and then you get dickheads getting in there saying, we're going to change this rule, change that rule, change this rule, blah, blah, blah. And in the end, you just got this unwatchable fucking mess.
Mm.
And so the women's game is becoming more and more appealing to watch because you just sit back and go, my old friend, you're still here.
Yeah, it really was. It was exactly like that. And, I as you say, every women's Origin match I've watched has been great. And, they beat the hell out of each other. It's kind of crazy to see.
Hannah Southwell's defence is just rock solid. The last year and the year before, she was pulling off some massive fucking hits. I was just going. Everyone talks about a few different sort of key players here and there, but she's one that doesn't get mentioned too much. But this year, people are talking about her, and she's I really like the way her technique is just fucking flawless. I love the way she goes about it.
Like, the thing that got to me, New South Wales was making so much ground up. Like, they were getting really good go forward. And they had their halfback. And I don't want to single players out at this point. I don't think they deserve it. But their halfback didn't have a good game at all. Really, really poor game by her. But, Queensland really stuck in there. And there was times when it looked like they were about to break, and they just held on. And, man, it was just such a good game. I actually saw one journo saying that, because everyone's praising the game. It was funny. Everyone enjoyed the game. So there was one journalist that was like, well, women's rugby league won't really have made it until people are willing to break it down and criticise the players that made mistakes and stuff like that. And all I'm thinking is, man, we're all just happy to see a fucking good game of footy finally. Because we've watched trash in the NRL. The NRL season is absolute trash. It's not fun to watch at all.
But we saw people who have been critical of the women's players, and they've been even-handed and fair about it. And I think that's quite healthy. Like, they're not out there being sexist or nasty or anything like that. They're just saying, that was a poor option, that was a bad kick, she's having a bit of a shocker, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. It's honest, it's good. It's the sort of discussion that needs to go on around this, because you're treating them with full respect now. Yeah. You're not treating them like it's some sort of exhibition thing anymore. You're going, right, these are legit. They deserve legit criticism if they're not playing well.
Yeah.
So it's all positive as far as I'm concerned. No one's out there being nasty or vicious.
No. Because there's no need for it. I saw you tweeting about this too, Peter Volandis, saying that if the women's players want their game to grow, that they need to sort of give up certain things. And all I'm thinking to myself is that we're going to watch this State of Origin game, and there were 600,000 people that watched it on TV, which is not insignificant at all. And all I'm thinking to myself is, well, why aren't you paying them, Pete?
Yeah, exactly. You can't sit there and demand that they, take some pissy amount of money and to relocate when they're not being paid very much money at all as it is.
Mm-hmm.
God, yeah. That was an absolute fucking arsehole of a comment he made. And I just went, I'm not surprised by it.
Yeah.
Because it just shows how hopeless he is.
Yeah.
I very nearly put on the end of that tweet that he's in the echelon of shithouse administrators
mm-hmm.
in the game's history, where all of the Super League administrators in England currently sit.
Yeah, look, I
reckon there would be a few English Super League administrators
mm-hmm.
who you could sit there and compare with Volandis and go, I don't know which one's better.
I tell you where I think the point of difference is. And it's just pick your poison, right? I think Volandis makes stuff happen, mostly terrible stuff, but he makes stuff happen. Whereas I think the English administrators, they want to make stuff happen, but they haven't even got the ability to do that, and so they're just not good enough to push through what they want to push through. And part of me thinks that that's what I would rather. Someone that's just incompetent enough that when they come up with a bright idea, they haven't got the ability to push it through. Because with Volandis, every time he comes up with something new, like they were thinking about changing it so that the scoring team, they kick off. And it's like, we've been here, it didn't work. It didn't work for a really good reason. Why are you going over old ground? And all of these bright ideas, and it's all just trying to, fix the problems. We all know the problems. Like, we could fix rugby league at the NRL level in 5 minutes, get rid of the 6 again bullshit, and have scrums.
Wind back all the rules to what they were in 2019. Done.
Yeah, very easy.
That's it.
But they refuse to say they're wrong.
I will say just quickly on that whole scoring team kicks off thing.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people seem to think that it's never been tried before. It was tried. It was in the 97 Super League season. And I had a look at the stats. And when you compared the average margin in that 97 Super League comp with the 97 ARL comp, the margins were bigger in Super League.
Yeah.
So that whole notion that the scoring team kicks off will actually help reduce the margins, it won't.
No,
and the margins now are bigger than what they were then.
Yeah, and in practice, I mean, all you end up with is the team that couldn't stop the opposition from scoring. Now they're parked on their own try line trying to ruck it out.
Yep.
And unless they have a really good set of six and a really good kick on the end of it, they're immediately in trouble again. At least when the team that has conceded points, when they kick off, they get to keep the opposition down the other end of the field if they're good enough to. And
that's right.
Yeah, it was just another stupid idea to try and fix all the other stupid ideas. And the sooner all of these rule changes are rolled back, the better that rugby league will be. Because right now it's not fun to watch. It's really weird that it's not fun to watch.
Yeah, it's hard work. And it's because we've been conditioned for the last decade at least that when we go and watch a rugby league game, it doesn't matter who's playing. And you'll have an inkling as to who's going to win some games.
Mm.
But there's also that little thing in the back of your mind going, if this other team turns up, they can get a win here.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens because the competition was getting closer and closer and the margins were getting smaller and smaller. And the difference between the top teams and the bottom teams was getting closer and closer. And then the last year and a half, that has exploded in the opposite direction. And now we've got games decided in 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, and even some of them are decided at 10 minutes, which is really scary because, why do you watch the rest of it? There's plenty of games where they're over 10 minutes before, like completely over 10 minutes before half time. And I, as a diehard rugby league fan, will be fucking around on my phone the whole second half, barely watching the game. And it's not fun. And they've literally broken the game.
They have. I mean, I've got a few stats here. I'm not going to go about them too much because numbers is pretty hard to portray in a podcast.
Since in the last 5 weeks, we've phased out statistics on this podcast. Just letting you know.
All right. Well, in 2018, the average margin for an NRL game was 12.69 points per game. In 2019, it went up to 13.79, so it went up by 1.1 point. 2020, 15.21, so it went up by 1.5 points. This year, 18.56, it's gone up by 3.3 points a game on last year, and it's up almost 5 points on 2019, and it's converted try up on 2018.
It's crazy.
That's insane.
And that's not even taking into account how unwatchable the games are. Like, it's not just that they're blowouts. It's that instead of watching a game of football, you're watching procedures that are in place. And you're like this idea that the referees are now being told to stop the game randomly because the person up in the bunker is the ultimate judge and jury of these games now. It's not the person on the field. And the referees are being told, you need to go back, sometimes up to a set and go back and put this guy on report and put him in the bin for 10. And it's for something the referee himself did not see happen. And that's wrong.
Oh, there's so much that's wrong about it. The crazy thing is, margins now are the widest they've been since 1935, and that year was just, it's one of those outlier, just, freak incident sort of years. Because you had Dave Brown at the peak of his powers. He scored 280 points in 15 games or something like that. Fucking insane.
Mm.
And that was, they had 19.49 points per game was the margin then, and nothing's come close to that until now. And so they've got a freak occurrence that caused that, and it didn't happen the next year. There's just one bloke in unbelievably hot form, surrounded by a team full of absolutely great players, most of them test players, and they just, they had University, who were just an atrocious side when it comes to performances on the field, and Canterbury in their first year.
Yeah,
and it's just history will show you that a team, whenever you introduce a new team in the comp, there'll always be 1, sometimes 2 years where they get flogged a bit and then they start to catch up. So you had those three freak occurrences all happening at once. And that's what contributed to that high margin. And then nothing for 80 years almost. And then this happened. And this is the first time it's happened. We haven't had one team or one player that's completely dominating. There's a few teams that are playing well. We haven't had new teams introduced for over a decade.
Mm-hmm.
It's entirely rule changes. And that's the thing that's fucking irritating.
And the weird thing, and I was thinking about this the other day, remember they brought in when you kick the ball dead over the in goal, you give the opposition 7 tackle sets. And it was to stop. And I remember when they brought it in, they were like, we got to stop teams from taking the likes of Billy Slater and Greg Inglis out of the game by just kicking it dead. And I'm thinking to myself, the most dominant players in the game right now. Like, they're having no problems dominating these games. What are you talking about? Yeah. And we look at that, and it's like 7 tackle sets, and we all go, that's too big. That's too much of an advantage, 1 extra tackle. Well, these teams are having sets that aren't 6 tackles. They're 18 tackles in a row. Sometimes they're 24 tackles in a row. And what did we think was going to happen? And on top,
and no stoppages.
And no stoppages, just straight through. So it's like, it literally is like a 18 tackle set. And then on top of that, even little things like you kick a 40-20, that's a massive advantage when you kick a 40-20. And instead of it being scrum, you can tap it. And then there's the other thing of like, you want a scrum, do you want it in the middle of the field? You pick where you want it. That's a massive advantage in itself. And every single one of these rule changes has been for attack. And exactly. They broke it. They eventually got to the point where they broke it. And the only way to go back is to go back to those rules we started the 2020 season with. That's the only way it works.
Exactly right. Because the last time we had the game going this fast and points being scored this freely, the game just, the clubs, they decided that things needed to slow down, and they did it themselves. And how do they do it? Wrestling.
Yep.
And that's what you risk now. And so all these great ideas by Peter V'landys to eliminate wrestling, which was being eliminated casually anyway, by just having 2 refs on there cracking down on the ruck, he's now pretty much brought in all these rules that will essentially bring it back again. And it may not be wrestling, it'll be something else they'll do. It'll be doing shit like, picking a player up and turning them around so they're facing the wrong way just to slow down the play of the ball or some shit like that. They'll find something, they'll manufacture something in order to slow down the play of the ball so that they get what they want, because that's what they'll do.
And, we're seeing now more and more teams picking the dummy half on the bench. You probably noticed that. Yep. And that's what was happening when we had unlimited tackles, when it was just touch football. And like one of the ones that really stood out and were really good at it, Sydney Roosters back then. They might have been called Sydney City back then.
Yeah.
Still. I can't remember.
Yeah, Craig Wing on the bench.
Yeah, Craig Wing. And it was Simon Benetti was the starter and Craig Wing on the bench.
Yeah.
And that was trash football too.
It was, because Benetti was a very good defender, so he just took all that early workload, and then Wing came on with about 15 minutes to go in the half and just ran through all the tired forwards.
Yeah.
And they were insane.
And you're seeing there's a lot of games that I'm starting to see now where it is just straight back into the way you used to attack back then, which was just work around the ruck. Don't even worry about passing it wide.
The Storm's doing
around the ruck.
The Storm are doing it now. They've got Brandon Smith at hooker now, and you've got Harry Grant on the bench.
Yep.
And they're doing the same thing. They just work one out. Occasionally 2 out, but you don't move too far from the middle of the ruck.
Yeah, because there's no need to. You work over the ruck, and it's just easy money. It's free real estate.
You just wear out the middle forwards.
Yep. Anyway, let's talk about something that's way more fun to talk about than the destruction of our game that we love. England lost overnight to a combined nations all-star team that included Matt Pryor. Matt Pryor still plays rugby league. It was a good warm-up for the England team for the World Cup that might not even go ahead. The All-Stars were ahead 14-12 at half-time. I haven't watched the game simply because I couldn't give a fuck.
The thing that's crazy about this is the excuses people are making for England.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, this was a entirely Super League team that England selected, playing against a combined Super League championship team. Championship's their second division over there.
Mm.
Okay, and a lot of people are saying, but some of England's best players are either in the NRL or they were playing in the Combined Nations team. At the end of the day, I think we can safely say that the chasm in quality between Super League and Championship is sizable.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've got a team that's made up of some Super League players, even some of the best ones, and some Championship players, and they're playing against a team entirely made up of Super League players, the entirely Super League team logically should win that game comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when most of them have played Test football together. They know each other's game. They know what's going on. There wouldn't have been a lot of cohesion, I dare say, between the Combined Nations team, because you might have a few combinations here and there played together, but I don't think they've played, a majority of them haven't played together in a team at the same time before. Mm. And so they've only had one or two training sessions together to try and run a few plays and get things sorted out. And they've gone out there and they've beaten the English Test team. It's
in a fixture that was set up for the English Test team. It's not like this is something they were at home.
The league that supported the English team, that selected the English team, is the same one that selected their opposition.
Yes.
They've handpicked their opponents and still lost. It's the most embarrassing thing ever. And I've got people out there saying, but England's best players are either in the NRL or they're in the other side, and going, that's your best argument?
Mm.
You picked an intentionally weaker team and lost to them. You didn't want to play France because there's always this talk going on, this condescending talk, France doesn't give us enough of a competition. You can't even give yourself a competition.
Yeah.
And I also want to point out, England and Great Britain combined haven't won a game now for over 960 days.
Okay, so now you come up with a beautiful stat. Do you know the stat I'm talking about? With the three teams.
Is it that one?
The three teams.
Oh, the three teams, yeah. So in the last, 965 days, the total number of wins for England is 0, for Great Britain is 0, and the worst team in the third division, West Wales Raiders, is 1.
Oh, yeah. That feels good. That feels real good.
England's not going to play a game next month, so they will go 1,000 days without winning a single game.
Oh, that feels even better. Keep going.
It's ridiculous. They've got a World Cup coming up.
Yeah. But here's the thing, right? A lot of English people will say, Australia's not playing test matches. It's like, listen, no one's playing test matches at the moment. Okay, let's be fair. But then it's like, overall, Australia doesn't play. England could have played Wales. They could have played Scotland, Ireland, France, just as easily. And they didn't. They chose to make up their own fake team, and they lost to that fake team. And now we're coming into a point where the World Cup, which has been promoted like crazy over the last month and a half by all of the official accounts, now next week they're having a meeting to see if the World Cup should be postponed. And now they've already postponed it was like what was called Festival of the World Cup, which was supposed to be going on right now, which included emerging nations and amateur players and things like that. They already got rid of that one. Now the main World Cups looks like it's in danger. And I don't know what the answer is going to be. Who knows where we're going to be in, a few months' time when we start gearing up towards that. But it's hard to really see that going ahead. I feel as though if they do go ahead with it and anybody chooses not to participate, not only should they should not be allowed to play International Rugby League for 4 years and not be involved in the next World Cup. That's the first thing. So I don't want anyone saying, you just don't want to play international football, Australia, blah, 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 blah. It's not about that. I would wipe out any nation that doesn't want to take part in the World Cup if they've got a place there. But at the same time, it looks really, really difficult to make all of this work for a World Cup. This isn't a regional competition. This isn't it's going to be very difficult to make this work.
The problem I think England's got at the moment is it looks like, I'm just having a look at the stats for their COVID cases at the moment. It looks like they're on the precipice of a third wave.
Yeah.
So they've been getting all the vaccines right up there. 20th of May, they had 2,000 cases. Actually, even the week before, it was 1,400. So they were getting it down. But yesterday, it just hit 10,000. 10,000 again.
Yeah.
It's climbing back up again. I think last time it took them 3 months to get over that second wave.
Mm-hmm.
And we go 3 months from now, we're getting to the end of September, start of October. That's getting close.
Yeah, and like I know you and me probably as excited for this World Cup as maybe any World Cup since the mid-90s, I would suggest. Because like I think you and me think that Tonga are a real good chance to win it.
Absolutely.
And not only that, I dare say that the likes of Fiji and Samoa, if they get their shit together, they're on the same level as a New Zealand team.
I don't think we can go light on PNG either.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I already think that they're pretty close to New Zealand anyway, especially with the way New Zealand sometimes doesn't turn up. But yeah, this was shaping up to be a great World Cup, so it's not like we don't want it to happen. But man, it's going to be difficult to make there are so many things that need to come together and work together, and then you've got to be super lucky on top of that. And then hope that all of these players that are in different parts of the world are going to say to themselves, you know what? We've been in a partial lockdown for 2 years. We've been in a partial bubble for 2 years. Yeah, send me over to the UK where I know there's 10,000 people with COVID. It's a hard sell.
You know what they could do is go to a nearby country where COVID cases are dropping every day.
Mm-hmm.
France.
And do you know what their cases are at?
Well, back in April, 13th of April, they had 39,000 cases a day.
Yep.
And last data I've got here has them with 2,000 cases a day.
Wow, that's a huge drop.
They're dropping them pretty quick.
Part of me thinks that if they're going to... I wouldn't cancel the World Cup or postpone it. The thing I would do is I would say, look, we need to take an overall look at this sport and say what is the best thing for rugby league. And for me, if that means that the World Cup ends up being in Australia or New Zealand, and because that's where most of the teams are based, is in this part of the world, and the elite players, most of them are based in this part of the world. And if that means that some teams can't be there, I think we've got to do the best thing for rugby league, is my point. I don't think we need to be saying, we've got to do the best thing for the organisers of this event in England. I think we've got to do the best thing for rugby league overall. That's the main thing. Yeah,
look, my big concern is going to be on player welfare.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of forcing players to go to a place with a heap of COVID there. And if teams say, we don't want to go there and take that risk, I'm fine with them doing that. I genuinely think it's ludicrous to be trying to push through, things like the Olympics now.
Ugh.
And any sporting codes World Cup. I think it's stupid.
Yeah.
I'd be more in favour of them just saying, let's just put a hold on World Cups for now. We're not going to say that we're going to put this one on hold and it will be held in England. I'd just say, scrap it. Let's not talk about World Cups until we get COVID under control. And so the next World Cup can be anywhere.
I'd be up for that too. But if they do that, say they announce that this week, that it's going to be an 8-year gap between World Cups, what I would like to see them do is, instead of just making that announcement, come in with something where it's like, we're not going to have the World Cup, but every off season we have a provisional calendar set up that it is, say, England versus Wales, Australia versus Tonga.
Yeah, that's
and put something there instead.
Actually, no, you do that. You have a Northern Hemisphere and Southern Hemisphere competition, right? Mm-hmm. And over the next 3 years or so, we'll make it 2 years, all the Southern Hemisphere teams play each other once,
mm-hmm.
or the Northern Hemisphere teams play each other once,
mm-hmm.
and the winner in each division plays each other in a World Cup final. And that way you've
Yeah,
only got to organise where two teams have to go. And you're reducing the risk of COVID outbreaks to anyone then.
Where would you play that game?
Anywhere where there's no COVID.
Siberia.
Why not? Take it somewhere completely new.
Somewhere
you know what?
Yeah.
Well, let's just go. You know what? You're taking a financial hit already. Why not just play the game somewhere unique? Somewhere completely new, somewhere completely different, and just go, we're going to put this there and just see what happens. And make sure it's got a good stadium. Somewhere
where rugby league is not played 100%.
Yeah.
South Africa.
I was going to say, hang on, I just had an idea. Let's have a look at this, if this place has any COVID cases.
Okay.
How about Hawaii?
Oh, I'm in. You know what I reckon we should do when COVID's over, right? This is a long-term goal. This is like maybe 5 years away, okay? What if we did a Fergo on the Freak tour to Hawaii?
There's an idea.
Because the flights are cheap, okay? COVID's going to be out the way. And I think we could get a bunch of people that listen to the podcast. We all go to Hawaii at the same time.
Can we get, say, the Hawaii Tourism Board to sponsor us to fund it?
Can you imagine how good that would be?
Oh, there's an idea.
They do struggle to get people to Hawaii.
Yeah, that's all right. We can plug that gap.
Yeah, we're here for you, Hawaii. Honolulu, it's beautiful.
We will sort you out.
You know, the thing I loved about Honolulu is the temperature was always the exact same. You want to be a fucking weatherman in Honolulu because it is like tomorrow its temperature drops to 26 degrees and then it's back up to 27 the following 15 days.
That's the way you want it to be. You don't do any hard work when it comes to weatherman behaviour.
No, exactly. Okay, let's get back to rugby league. So Reece Walsh is out of the Queensland side. I think he pulled a calf or a hammy in training. Little bit unfortunate. I thought that it was unfortunate that I didn't think it was time for him to be selected. I thought he was on a hiding to nothing. And then Mulatalo, he comes in as a replacement for Walsh, and the New South Wales Rugby League immediately puts in a request to check that he's actually eligible to play for Queensland because he was born in New Zealand, he was raised in New Zealand, and then he flew over to be in Queensland when I think he was just under 14. Okay. So it's going to be interesting to see what they rule there, and I can't believe it got this far, quite honestly.
Yeah, let him have him.
See, I don't agree.
Why change the rule now to be place of origin for Queensland? Why fix it now?
I tell you what, right? Because fuck Queensland. They took Greg Inglis. They can fuck off. Pick some Queenslanders and stop picking Kiwis.
Yeah, let them pick who they want. It's clearly working.
Oh, shit. What did you think about picking Reece Walsh after, 7 NRL games?
That was the sort of selection you make when you have no idea how to be a coach.
I felt the same way.
So he's just gone, I need someone, I need something, I need to shake things up. I'm just going to pick some random player and put him there. Look, Walsh has been amazing in attack.
Mm-hmm.
His defence has been very iffy.
Yeah.
And I don't think an iffy defender is something you want in Origin, especially at fullback.
And you can see him learning what first grade's about. And look, he's got special talent, but you can see him learning what first grade is about week on week, and it's really cool to actually watch it happening. But to then throw him into the Origin arena, I just thought it was unfair on him.
Very unfair. I mean, he's going to play Origin in the future if he's keeps going at the same rate he's going at the moment. He focuses purely on just playing good NRL footy.
Mm-hmm.
His development will see him play Origin football. There's no doubt about it.
Definitely. Now, it looks like we're going to have empty stadiums for the Sydney lockdown as players enter a bubble. Um, this from the NRL website. Brad Walter says Sydney clubs are set to play games in empty stadiums. Teams will use charter flights for interstate travel, and players will revert to strict bubble conditions after the New South Wales government announced a lockdown until July the 9th. One of the things that I found really interesting was, remember not that many years ago when there'd be a finals game and it was at a small stadium and they'd say, look, we can't move it to Stadium Australia because too much logistics and it just is impossible. And then now they'll move a game at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. I've got a solution for them though if they're worried about playing in front of empty stadiums.
Yeah.
You go and take my cutout to every single game.
Ooh. You reckon I untie it from the bedpost and take it to a game, huh?
Absolutely. I thought you had it stuck to the ceiling above your bed, but yeah.
No, I like to look up at it like it's looking down at me.
That's fine by me. Saves me being there to do it myself.
Yeah, well, I just found when we did it over Skype, you were a bit uncomfortable, so I thought this was the next best thing.
Yeah, I was worried somebody was watching me. I'm okay watching someone else.
Yeah.
Watching me's creepy, though.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be sick. But yeah, so we're in bubbles again. The terrible thing is that Panthers versus Parramatta game next weekend. I was looking forward to that. Never mind. So I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
Have you got some time, by the way? Are we good?
Yeah, we're going good.
Okay. Have there been any random thoughts that you've come up with while you've been sleep deprived and up at weird hours? Is there any weird, random rugby league thoughts you've had?
Only ones on things I should do stats on.
Okay, what like? Or do you not want to say? Because
No. I started on one the other day, and I did the results just in the NRL era, and that was the difference between the top 4 teams and the bottom 4 teams.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it for the NRL era.
Yep.
And it's just looking at the points difference between the top 4. So I combined the top 4 points difference at the end of the year, and then did the same for the bottom 4 and subtracted the 2 to find out what the biggest gap was. Yep. And did the same thing for win percentages.
Yep.
So I was thinking of doing that all the way through. There was something else. I didn't write it down and forgot.
I've had a couple of things with stats that because anybody that's listening, I basically said to Andrew, he has a baby, I'm going to leave him alone because, he doesn't need me fucking hassling him. And there's been so many things I've thought, man, I'd love to know what this stat is and I'd love to know what that stat is, and I've had to keep it to myself. It's all gone. It's all disappeared now into my head meat. But, yeah.
Can you remember any of them?
No.
Okay.
No. I can't.
I will say I did have a look at the stats for the podcast.
Yeah.
And it appears that the people don't miss me.
No, don't start that shit.
Well, geez, you've done a great job running this show without me around.
I fucking really have. No, I well, I tell you one of the things I've learned, right? First of all, I think I'm a better host than you. No, I'm a better host than what I was. I think it's taught me that. And then the other thing is, I think now that we're back full time, because the little one, I'm guessing he's driving and stuff now. He's at school. I don't know how they grow up, but it seems that way. That I'll if there's podcasts in between, I just got to record them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's it. But that's the only difference, really. Like,
That's all right. It's now your podcast. I just come on as a guest every now and then.
No, like you.
So one thing I did try and do.
Yeah.
I said, right, I've got 5 weeks. I'm going to try and watch at least one episode in full of NRL 360.
Yeah.
I pushed myself. I worked really hard. I got myself all angry.
Yeah.
and I did about 8 minutes.
It's
Can't do it. Can't do it.
impossible.
The most I could come up with was one tweet where I said, it just looks like a dinner table in an old person's home. They just all need a cardigan.
They really do.
Ray Hadley looks like an old man.
See, I haven't watched with Hadley on it yet.
And all they do is just whinge and moan at one another.
Yeah.
So it's struggling. And I see that Ben Ikin's now leaving. Imagine how bad you are for someone to leave what you are to go to the Broncos. He thinks the Broncos are better than what you are.
And not only that, people being like, oh man, I don't know how this show will survive without Ben Ikin.
Hey, people said the same thing about North Sydney.
Yeah, true. How many people are like, I'll never go and watch rugby league again without North Sydney? It's like, you're 70. You're not going to be watching rugby league for much longer anyway.
Ask prefer. So I see some people saying, who should we get to replace Ben Ikin?
Well, who do you think would be a good replacement for Ben Ikin? The Grim Reaper.
No, I reckon Willie Mason.
Oh, he would be good, actually.
Because the minute he would raise his voice, you would just hear 3 people physically shitting themselves.
Yeah.
And that would be entertaining to watch, and then he'd just be silent for a while.
Yeah. I couldn't come up with anybody that jumped out for me.
No, there's no one to go. No one would do it. No one with any common sense would take that gig on.
No.
Because they've killed that show.
Oh, so just spiked it.
Yeah. Like, what they've done to that show is almost as bad as what Peter V'landys has done to the NRL.
Yeah.
And they've done it in the same period of time.
It's like, I remember that Fox Sports had that show, The Back Page, and it was good to watch. And, like, there were even people on there you weren't a big fan of, but you would still watch it because it was entertaining on some level. And then they changed it up, and it just become an unwatchable fucking mess.
Well, I used to watch it when they had the 12th Man on there, back when it first started. And that was when it was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And he left, and it's just like, it's lost its touch now.
Yeah.
And now they've got that bloke who thinks he's funny that goes for the Dragons that hosts it, and I don't know his name, Tony something.
I wish I was as funny as that guy thinks he is.
I know that I'm as funny as he thinks he is. Sorry, I know that I'm as funny as he is. That's what I meant to say.
No, people find you funny. Hey, by the way, did you see that Joel Kane had a go at me on Channel 9?
I did see that. That was brilliant.
That was pretty funny. He fucking calling me out in Channel 9, and I didn't see it. I was watching fucking Fox Sports, and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden my Twitter feed starts lighting up, and it's like, fucking Joel Kane having a go at you, and I'm like, oh Jesus, what have I fucking done now? And he was pretty. He didn't really have a go at me, but he gave me a little bit of one. I thought it was pretty. Yeah. Actually, I loved it.
It was good. Good little dig.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I think that's all of the. Oh, by the way, who do you think's going to win Origin 2?
Well, New South Wales.
Yeah, same here. Do you think they'll win by a lot or close or?
I think it will be. It'll be closer. I can't see 2 Origin games in a row resulting in massive dickings.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that Queensland will be like competitive. I don't think it's going to be 12-14 or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think New South Wales' biggest problem is going to be themselves. Because after beating Queensland so comfortably in the first game, there's that huge risk that they'll be complacent in the second one, thinking, we only need to do 50%.
Yeah.
And Queensland will put in a bit more effort the second time around. So if New South Wales goes in half-assed, they are a risk of being, I wouldn't say beaten, but they're a risk of, getting into a tough game. But I think the chance of that is pretty slim. So I'm going for New South Wales by about 20.
I feel like this preparation for Queensland has not been great for them. And I know I'm just walking straight into the same trap. I don't care. I think New South Wales is going to beat the living snot out of Queensland, and we're going to wrap the series up, and we're going to take Game 3 down to Melbourne, down to the SCG, because they're trying to get the game off of Sydney, and we'll fucking win that too.
I should take Game 3 to somewhere completely random, like Wagga.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
Yeah, there's an idea.
Yeah, I wonder if you could take it to like Darwin.
Of course you could.
Speaking
of Wagga, speaking of Wagga, Sydney's gone into lockdown with COVID.
Yeah.
And people in Wagga started panic buying toilet paper.
Don't you find it weird when people take pictures of other people buying toilet paper? I find it fucking creepy.
It's funny because the only reason why you can take that photo is because you were there to buy the same shit.
Exactly. I just find it very strange.
You just bit it, someone beat you to it, so it's like, oh, I'm going to shame you.
And the thing is too, like, if you watch 10 minutes of the news, just 10 minutes, you're left thinking, we're fucked. We're never getting out of this. And so I can see where somebody that is just a little bit off, you know, whether they're feeling a bit down, they're a bit more worried about this. I can see where they're like, I've got to buy everything. I've got to fucking... You know how serious I took COVID when it first started, right?
Yes.
And now I'm just over it. I don't give a fuck.
I'll tell you what's fascinating to me about this whole panic buying stuff.
Uh-huh.
No one panic buys the over-the-counter medicine.
Yeah, that's true.
The fuck is up with that?
Yeah.
They'll get the toilet paper, and I feel like saying, that's well and good. COVID doesn't give you the shits.
I just can't wait until I'm a grandfather and they say, what was it like, Jim? And I say, the first thing that went was the toilet paper. I just can't wait. Everyone was so terrified that they couldn't wipe their ass.
This will be our name.
Yeah. We need a version of the song I Was Only 19, but it's like about toilet paper.
Yeah, it was only COVID-19.
Yeah, it was only COVID-19. Oh, shit.
Oh, that's got to happen.
Yeah. Someone will make money off of that. COVID-19. Shit.
Just rewrite all of the Nam songs. Like K-San.
Yeah.
Rewrite that one. Oh, that'd be fantastic.
Instead of Fortunate Son, you could have Unfortunate Runs.
See, this is stuff that I'll probably rewrite at about 3 in the morning.
Yeah. when you're out by yourself and the baby needs fed or something, and you're just like, yeah, how can I reword this?
That's right, it'll happen. If you're up at 3 a.m., just tune in.
Yeah, that'd be good. So, Andrew, have you got anything you want to promote?
Nah.
No. What about your new podcast you're doing?
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
Tell you what, the funny thing is, I got asked by the guys who do the Full Credit to the Boys podcast.
Yeah.
I used to go on there every week last year, but timing got all mixed up and I couldn't do it this year.
Be honest, you said you fucking asked for more money. You said I'd worth 3 times as much. And like, you're out of our budget.
Well, that too. But they hit me up and this is last week.
Yeah.
Oh, can you let us know, answer some question about interchange players who came onto the field illegally?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, no worries. I said, what time can you come on? And I said, I'll come on tonight at 9 o'clock. And then I hit him. I said, can I make it 10 o'clock? Can I make it 11 o'clock? As though we do it tomorrow. And we'll do it this time. And then we'll do it this time. And then I kept pushing it back. It was a 3-minute spot. And in the end, I did it so quickly because it was when I had little fella asleep on my shoulder and I had 5 minutes spare before I had to go pick up my daughter from school. And so I'm sitting there, I wrote it all out and I'm just reading it rapid fire fast. And I went, man, I have so fucked that up. And then I missed one of them out anyway, so I stuffed it up as well. And I went, yeah. It took me 5 weeks to get to that point of doing a bit of podcasting, and it was a completely botched 2.5-minute spot. And I went, how the hell am I ever going to record an episode again? And I went, you know what? I've just got to make it happen. So I know that last Friday I said to you, I'm going to try and get on and do the podcast at 10 o'clock.
Yep.
And you went, yep, no worries. I'll be around whenever you want. And I just knew.
I think I didn't hear from you for 4 days.
Yeah. I just knew that it was going to be a hard ask for me.
Yeah.
And I had a feeling that you were pretty much going, yeah, he's bullshitting. You didn't even follow it up with me. And I went, yeah, whatever, mate.
Yeah, and you know what I'm like, because normally when Andrew will be like, or one of us will be like, podcast tonight? Yeah, all right, what do you talk about? Oh, fuck, I don't know. Okay, half hour? Yeah, what are we looking at? 10, 11, 11:30? Yeah, okay, good. Well, let's be off by 1, and it's like that. And you were like, I'll be on at 10, and I thought, he's fucking kidding himself. He's not getting on at 10. So I was like, yeah, no worries. And I thought, if he messages me, I can jump straight on. But I fucking just played the Xbox all night. So I thought, there's no fucking way he's going to get on that quick. I was actually surprised you got on tonight. I was really surprised, actually. I was like, I thought you would have been like, oh, man, can we push it back an hour and a half? I really was on for that one.
Yeah, we managed to get the little fella to sleep. And I went, okay, I've got to try and start the podcast as close to when he's finally nodded off as possible, because I know he's sleeping for 3 to 4 hours first stint. And I went, I'm sure we can fit one in there. Yeah. So it's all good.
It's awesome. It's awesome to have you back. It really is awesome to have you back. It's not the same, man. It's like I've missed our chats that we don't even record, and sitting down to record a podcast and watching the Grand Prix by myself just sucks.
Yeah, so we'll get to do that tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Are you going to be able to get to watch the State of Origin, by the way?
Maybe.
Okay.
I didn't watch much of the first one.
Yeah, I get that.
Because the little fella was 2 to 3 weeks old.
Yeah, you can't.
We had it on, and we're just sort of in and out of the room occasionally checking it out and going, yeah, scored again. Yeah, okay.
I think they say they've got to be like 6 to 8 weeks old before you can put them in the garage.
Yeah, it's somewhere around. He's getting close.
Yeah, he's in the range anyway.
Yeah, that's right. I've already got him doing like household chores and stuff like that because I can't be asked doing it anymore. Yeah.
Well, and you've got to get his hand-eye coordination up so he can sew like sports shoes together and stuff like that for the next 3 or 4 years.
This is right. Teaching him maths as well because he's got to run the website soon because there's so much data entry I can't be asked doing it.
Yeah, his little fingers, you'll have to get him a little keyboard.
Well, you could use the one that's here. I'm not spending extra money on it.
That's a good point. That's his problem, not yours.
Hey, I helped get him here. What more does he want?
It's like, listen, I put in 1.5 minutes of solid work. Now the rest is on him.
Steady. Don't talk me up too much. You've gone a minute over.
Oh, shit. I've missed this. Okay, so if people want it, you've got a website apparently.
Yeah, Rugby League Project. We've been.
Okay, what's that about?
Yeah, it's just footy stats and history and stuff on there.
Nice.
I've been able to actually, in this 5 weeks I've had off, I've been able to, in my time during the nights, I've been able to get on there and actually punch out a whole heap of years that have been sitting in the back end for a while there. So I've got from 1947 to 1952 finished.
Wow.
So we've only got, and I'm halfway through 53, so we've got 53 to 73 left to do. So just 20 more seasons left.
I can see where that's almost the perfect sort of stuff to do in between him being asleep on and off.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah. So getting through that, which has been helpful. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Check us out on Patreon at whatever the address is.
What is it? Patreon.com/RL
Project.
Project. Yeah.
It's
Hey,
been
I,
that long
I
since
put
I
an
had to say it, and I forgot what it was.
yeah, I put a tier on mine as well for $1 now. Hey,
Oh, good. There you
yeah.
go.
So we've both got tiers for $1 on both of our ones.
That's right. Get over there. Just $1 a month, people. Come on.
Yeah, it's not much.
That's right.
Um,
And yours is patreon.com/leaguefreak.
Yeah, no space between
I remember
League
that one.
Freak. And yeah, go and check them both out. I've been promoting all your stuff while you've been gone too. I don't know if you've been, well, I know you've listened to every single podcast. I mean, that's commitment. That's what commitment is. That's what friends would do.
I've listened to all but one, actually.
Oh, really? Which one?
Yes. The one with Ben Darwin. It's the last one. It's the only one I haven't listened to yet.
Yeah, that was a really good one.
Yeah. When Ben Darwin gets on, I need to sit down and listen to it in one go.
Yeah.
So some of them I've been able to just press pause and come back to and just rewind a little bit and go, oh, that's where I'm up to, and away I go. But the stuff Ben Darwin talks about is very fascinating to me. So I want to sit down and just take it all in one go. So I've been holding off on that one.
Yeah, it was really nice of the boys from Gainline to come on, because that was when I was like, oh man, okay, time to fucking keep the show on the road, and they come on and it was like, oh, that went pretty well, so let's just keep forging ahead, and yeah, it was great, and yeah, that I can see where that's one you really do, you'll enjoy sitting down and listening to that one. So yeah, anyway.
You've been doing a great job.
Thanks. I did my best. And, like, obviously my best is just fucking outstanding. So, but it's good to have you back, too.
It's good to be back on.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
See you in 7.5 months' time, you fucking slacker.
I was going to come back that soon. Work on me now.
Now the pressure's on.
Yeah, the pressure's on. Bloody hell.
Anyway, thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks to Andrew for dropping in.
As a guest on my own podcast.
As a guest on Freak and the Furco. We'll be back with another brand new episode probably within the next, 72 to 48 hours. Bye-bye, everyone.
Hooroo.